Thanks, Wynn. Do we have a second?
I would like to second.
Amy, you're recognized for that purpose.
Thank you. Grab your coffee and your tea. It's going to be a while. Just kidding. I am very excited to speak in support of Josh Wojehowski, as he's been a significant part of my political life and my culinary life in the 4 years that I have known him. Here's a quick snapshot of the person for anybody who, after wins, support anybody who doesn't know him super well. In so many ways, Josh is the epitome of old school Cornwall. He has deep multi-generational roots in this town. And at the same time, he embodies a new and emerging Cornwall ripe with possibilities. He can be described as someone who has a deep appreciation of the vintage charm of our region. And at the same time, he is able to approach ideas through a modern lens. He is a stable and reliable family man, but with a creative, cool dad vibe. You're welcome. He is a morning till night hard worker and a roll up your sleeves kind of guy. But these are not actually my words. These are the words of your community. These are the words of the people you in the CDC represent. In thinking about how I wanted to nominate Josh for this role, I took to the streets or the internet and I asked around fellow Democrats and even across party lines, both sides of the aisle, to capture public opinion about what Cornwall is looking for in a supervisor, and I think Josh fits the bill. So that sums up the character of the man and the perception of him from myself and maybe our community as well, and that is point number one. Point number two is experience. In his short time on the town board, Josh has already proven his value. Notably, he has expanded the communication between the board and the community, creating a social media presence which barely existed before. And anybody in any relationship, business, romantic, or otherwise, knows that communication is key. And especially during a pandemic, we need our leaders to communicate with us if we are going to feel safe and if we are going to feel sane. In serving on the Chamber of Commerce's COVID reopening task force, Josh pushed for the town to allow restaurants to expand outdoor dining via emergency order. Again, to keep us safe and sane, he used and uses creative approaches, editing old unnecessary rules that need not be in place while honoring the boundaries that do serve a purpose. Communication, transparency, creativity. I believe he's definitely up for the task of supervisor. So what makes me think he's qualified? Let's tackle point number three. There's only four, so don't worry. I came to Josh first through food. No surprise there. Many of us did. And if you've never worked in food, you might not know the tireless energy, creativity, Mr. Fix-It personality, think on your feet mentality, inclusiveness, detail orientation, while recognizing the big picture needed to run a restaurant are unsurpassed in almost any other profession. I can attest as well. Running Fresh was quite possibly the hardest job he'll ever have to do, and our town certainly can benefit from having a person in this position who has experienced the back-breaking work, long days, and knows what it's like to do all of that while raising a family. Let's not forget that while running that restaurant, Josh is and was in the thick of parenthood, still is, balancing as best as any of us can. He is real, he is relatable, he is all of us. Cornwall, in the end, can be summed up as a town by and for families. And having one at the helm seems super important to me. And in summary, my fourth and most important message to you tonight, I will remind you that in 2010, Josh and his lovely wife Heather, came back home to Cornwall. It's a rare thing. Came back home to Cornwall to raise a family here. Josh's connection to this town run deep, and his extended relations, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, and many friends with longtime residents link him to a legacy of multi-generational Cornwall. Super important. But since returning, he's run a restaurant popular with both longtime and recently arrived residents. And in 2018, he was elected to the town council on his first try. And many of us know how hard that is. We all know, these connections to old and new Cornwall give him a unique perspective and put him in a very strategic position to speak to both the old and the new. Josh is the perfectly versatile candidate who speaks to the old and new, from past to present to future. He is that bridge. The bridge between old Cornwall and new, the bridge between our Canterbury Inn crowd and our Cornwall Coffee Company and Mercantile Club, the bridge between our family-run Jones Farm and our forward-thinking secret barn dinners, the bridge between those who attend our 72nd annual Independence Day celebration and those who have found a home at our 4th annual Fired Up extravaganza. The bridge. Josh Wojehowski is the bridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. It was a little long, but very good. Now, I want before I ask for any other nominations.